The vagus nerve, the missing link to lasting health. I want to show you why this overlooked nerve could be the key to better mood, metabolism, and resilience. The vagus nerve is one of the most crucial components of our nervous system, and today I'm going to show you how it affects your health and what you can do to improve its function. So what does the vagus nerve do? Almost everything. Regulates stress, controls heart rate, promotes digestion, and facilitates communication between the gut and the brain. It regulates crucial processes, especially those that help you relax, digest, and heal. And if your vagal nerve is functioning optimally, it means you're better prepared to recover after anything happens. In short, the vagus nerve is a vital part of your nervous system, and it is the main communicator, the superhighway between your brain and all of your essential organs. It is the longest cranial nerve in your body, and it connects the brain to the body, and it controls one half of your autonomic nervous system. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's vital for the organs to function correctly. It influences everything from heart rate to inflammation. It starts in the medulla oblongata, which is part of your brainstem, and there are two branches, one on the right and one on the left, and they go throughout the abdomen, affecting most of the organs there. Research shows that stimulating the vagus nerve can help with digestion, depression, anxiety, and even chronic inflammation. It's kind of a built-in healing mechanism, but for many people, it is not functioning optimally. You've heard of the gut-brain connection before. What we eat affects the health of our digestive system, and it also affects the health of your brain. And I'm going to show you the connection in a little bit. But the main thing connecting these two vital organs, your abdominal organ, your stomach, your digestive system, and your brain, is the vagus nerve. Our immune system health depends upon our gut health. You guys know that after listening to the classes. Signals travel from the brain through the vagus nerve to your immune system, defense system, which is primarily located in your gut. And if those signals are not working correctly, your defense system can malfunction. It can become overactive and start causing chronic inflammation and even autoimmune disease. Even less severe cases of problems with the vagus nerve can result in changes in your mood, your sleep, your capacity to rest and relax and rejuvenate at the end of a long day. And low vagal tone can result in challenges also with anger management, depression, and poor energy. This in turn impacts your cognition, learning ability, and memory. And I'll show you some studies regarding that in just a minute. The vagus nerve is a crucial component of the parasympathetic nervous system. So we've got automatic functions that occur in our body. You don't have to tell your heart to beat, it's automatic. You don't have to tell your lungs to breathe, it's automatic. That's the autonomic nervous system. And there's two branches, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So let's just review that quickly. The sympathetic nervous system controls your fight or flight response. When you're under stress, you are stimulating this system. It speeds up your heart, blood pressure, and respiration. It turns off digestion. It makes your muscles tense. Think of being chased or something. That's your sympathetic nervous system. That's part. The opposite part that balances out is the parasympathetic nervous system. That decreases heart rate, blood pressure, and respiration, and enhances digestion. So they do just the opposite, and they need to both be working optimally. The parasympathetic nervous system acts like a brake on your body. Slow everything down. Let's rest and relax. That's parasympathetic. The sympathetic acts like a gas pedal. If you're stuck in stress all the time, you are stimulating that sympathetic nervous system. In order to calm down and relax, we need to be able to shift back and forth throughout the day. Your body's brakes are the vagus nerve. It activates after times of stress and fast action to bring you back to rest and relaxation. Changes in your vagus nerve activity have long been linked to dementia and cognitive decline. And do we have a lot of that going on in America today? However, recent research has shown that nerve stimulation improves memory performance in people. So there's things we can do to stimulate that nerve, and I'll show you some of those things. But the bottom line is your body is constantly in a process of homeostasis. I'm just trying to balance out and be even. Some people misunderstand this process and think we're under stress throughout the day, we go home and we relax. But in fact, your body is always trying to find that homeostasis, that equal level where we're constantly going back to rest and relaxation. For example, even when you breathe, the sympathetic nervous system speeds up your heartbeat when you breathe in and you absorb oxygen. But when you breathe out, the parasympathetic nervous system works to slow down your heart rate again and keep your body in sync with your breathing. So in a way, your biological processes ebb and flow throughout the day, using up energy and then releasing it, kind of like waves. They release their energy and then things are back to normal. Vagal tone is a measurement of how fast your body reverts back from sympathetic nervous system activity to parasympathetic nervous system activity. It measures how well you bounce back after a stressful event. When your vagal tone is high, your parasympathetic nervous system can quickly return your body to a state of calm and relaxation. The higher the vagal tone, the better. We want to have high vagal tone. So how do you measure a vagal tone? I'm going to show you 4 ways. Heart rate variability, we'll talk about that. The palatine arch response, which many doctors have never heard of, and respiratory sinus rhythm, which is measured on EKG, and other indirect measures. Just how you feel can be an indicator of vagal tone. If you're not feeling well, it could be a vagus nerve problem. And if you don't respond well after exercise, you don't recover well, you don't bounce right back, that can be an indicator too. Let's talk about a couple of those. Heart rate variability. Now, if you have a smartwatch or you have a smart ring, you know your heart rate variability. And I think it's a very, very important number. Your heartbeats are not supposed to be like a metronome. It should not be exactly the same between each beat. In fact, the more variation there is between heartbeats, the higher your vagal tone. So if you have a smart watch, just look at your heart rate variability on there, and the higher the number, the better. Now that number decreases with age, but there's things we can do to bring it back. And this test requires no instruments. It is the palatine arch response test. And for this test, we are looking at this arch here. When you say ah, that arch goes from here to up here. And it moves your uvula up as well. That's what we want to see. If you see a nice response when you say ah, this moves up and it moves up evenly, indicator for good vagal tone. On the other hand, look at this. I was checking the palatine arch test on patients Monday, and one of them was exactly like that. Hardly any movement on one side and optimal movement on the other. So we need to see movement And the more the better, and it needs to be symmetrical. If not, it can indicate vagal tone problems. So why does this really matter? Why do we want high vagal tone? Well, how about living or dying? People with high vagal tone outlive those with low vagal tone. In a recent study, a team of researchers measured the vagal tone of a group of adults 50 and over, and then monitored them for the next year. And what did they find? The ones with higher vagal tone consistently and overwhelmingly outlived those with low vagal tone. As we get older, our vagal tone decreases, as many things do. Here's vagal tone at age 20. Here's vagal tone at age 80. But there are things we can do to counteract that. Vagal tone doesn't have to go down tremendously. So with that in mind, let's look at 7 methods to improve vagal tone, starting with one you are familiar with, deep breathing. Deep breathing. Now we can do box breathing, we can do 5.5 breathing, or we can do 4-7-8 breathing. I don't care what kind of breathing technique you do. This morning I did 5.5 breathing, and I just did it for 5 minutes. Very helpful in improving vagal tone. Number 2, something maybe not quite as pleasant, cold exposure. A number of human and animal studies have shown that cold activity increases vagal nerve and parasympathetic system activity in general. All you got to do is stand under a cold shower for the last minute of your shower. And you got to get used to it a little bit. The ice baths or cold plunges are helpful too, but you don't even have to do that. Now I want to encourage you, let that water run on your face and chest if you're going to do this for the optimal benefits. Number 3, singing, chanting, or humming, any of those things. These stimulate the vagus nerve through the vibration it creates. That vibration travels down the throat and into the chest, and it activates the vagus nerve. And while you're doing that, why don't you do some prayer and meditation? When you combine things, it's even a better effect. And prayer and meditation are great for activating the parasympathetic nervous system and letting it take over. Number 4, high intensity interval training has been demonstrated to increase heart rate variability and minimize arrhythmias after just one session. One session of HIT, you can increase your heart rate variability. Bursts of this sympathetic dominance, which that's what happens when you're exercising really hard. Sympathetic states kicked in. When that's done, it tends to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And even light exercise has been shown to have some benefit, not as much as high intensity interval training. Number 5, rest and relaxation and positive thinking. As we mentioned before in the section on homeostasis, many of the nervous system health difficulties arise because we don't allow ourselves to get to that balance in life. So make sure you're making that a priority. We've got 2 more things, and these could be big ones for you. I think number 6 could be the most significant one. Probiotics and a healthy diet. Probiotics support gut health, and by supporting gut health, we improve digestion, mood, and the stress response. Probiotics actually stimulate the vagus nerve. So there's vagus nerve branches in your digestive system. Your gut bacteria actually talk to your brain through the vagus nerve. There's communication going on between those things. It helps to reduce inflammation by healing the gut, getting rid of leaky gut and problems with gaps between the cells. It improves mood and stress resilience, and it also aids in digestion. So we need to be making sure our diet's in good shape, and adding some probiotics to that. And the last thing, something new that I have been experimenting with. I actually purchased this device last week, and I have been using it. It is a stimulator for stimulating the vagus nerve. It's called the Pulsetto Stimulator. And I want to encourage you, don't just pick one of these things to do, pick several of them. If you just use this device alone, it's probably not going to be as effective as using a lot of things. So what is this vagus nerve stimulation? Well, the vagal nerve is very close to the surface, right here on your throat. So the stimulator actually has little electrodes that are placed right here. And don't worry, it's not shocking, it doesn't hurt. But a little electrical current goes through there and into the vagal nerve, and then it travels throughout the body to every organ that is connected with that. It's an electrical signal generated by a battery-powered device, transmitted into the electrodes, and from the electrodes into your nerves. The procedure is undetectable. I mean, it's very faint. If you've ever used a TENS unit, it's kind of like having a little electrical tingle there, and you can change the intensity to make it more or less. And there are also different signals for helping with different problems. So if you've got sleep problems, you might use one channel. If you have digestive problems, another. Stress, another. Anxiety, another. So what are the primary effects of stimulating the vagus nerve? Increased vagal tone. That's biggie. We want that. We want to have a healthy vagus nerve. Increasing GABA. Now that's a neurotransmitter that calms you down and relaxes you and helps you sleep. Increases norepinephrine. Moderates serotonin concentrations, keeping them at the optimal level so you feel good. It activates anti-inflammatory pathways. It activates a part of your brain that's kind of hidden there that has some important functions, and also the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. It increases arterial oxygen concentrations, improves respiration, inhibits cytokines that cause inflammation, and decreases the tidal volume and heart rate. So a lot of good things. And if you look at the studies that are done on this device specifically, in 2 weeks, here's what happened. 18% improved sleep quality, 22% increased in just feeling good, 9% decrease in pain, 28% decrease in stress, and 19% decrease in burnout, and 26% decrease in anxiety. So sleep and mental health are two of the keys that I think can be helped with this. So here's your action steps. Do not neglect your vagus nerve. I want you to use several of these steps regularly to improve vagal tone, and make sure you hit subscribe to get more tips like this.